The persistent rhythmic bubbling of the marinara sauce on the stove usually brought a sense of grounding calm to my evenings. It was a familiar anchor in the often turbulent sea of my professional life as a cybersecurity architect, a tangible comfort after hours spent navigating the abstract complexities of global networks and digital vulnerabilities. But tonight, as I stirred the pot, the steam rising seemed to carry with it not just the aroma of garlic and basil, but a faint, unsettling dissonance that seeped into the very fibers of my home in Charlotte, North Carolina. My 13-year-old daughter, Lily, sat at the kitchen island, her math homework spread out before her, a picture of studious focus. Yet, her pen, usually a tireless instrument of algebraic precision, had remained motionless for what felt like an eternity. My training, honed over years of dissecting code and identifying anomalies in human behavior patterns during my time in military intelligence, screamed at me. Something was profoundly, fundamentally wrong. Lily's silence, usually a rare commodity, was now a heavy, oppressive weight, far more unsettling than any teenage outburst could have been. "You okay, kiddo?" I asked, my voice pitched to a casual lightness, a practice mask for the growing unease that tightened its grip around my chest. My days were a relentless cycle of protecting digital infrastructure, of anticipating cyber threats that ranged from corporate espionage to state-sponsored attacks. I thrived on order, on predictable algorithms and logical progressions. Yet, lately, the carefully constructed order of my personal life, once a sanctuary of stability, had begun to resemble a system under a stealthy, insidious attack, with an unseen intruder leaving behind fragmented, disturbing data points, each more chilling than the last. Lily looked up. Her brown eyes, usually alight with a playful sparkle or a fierce intellectual curiosity, were now strangely muted, their edges rimmed with a faint, disturbing redness that made my breath catch in my throat. "Dad," she whispered, her voice barely audible, a fragile thread that seemed to snap under the immense pressure of unspoken burdens. "Where's Mom tonight?" My wife, Sarah, was a regional sales director for a top pharmaceutical company, a role that kept her perpetually airborne, jet-setting across time zones and hotel conference rooms. "Another conference, sweetie," I replied, my voice falling into the familiar, well-worn groove of routine. I expertly dumped the perfectly al dente pasta into the colander, the steam billowing around me, a convenient screen to hide the flicker of something akin to suspicion that now ignited in my eyes. "She'll be back tomorrow." It was a rehearsed answer, one I'd given countless times in recent months. Sarah's career had always been demanding, a shared characteristic that initially drew me to her, a mutual appreciation for ambition and the relentless pursuit of success. But lately, her business trips had escalated dramatically, stretching into multiple days, sometimes even a week, each absence creating a wider, colder chasm in our once vibrant home. It felt less like ambition and more like avoidance, a deliberate distancing. Lily's face crumpled. The pen, forgotten, slipped from her fingers, clattering loudly against the cool, unforgiving quartz countertop. Her shoulders began to shake, tiny, convulsive movements that ripped through the carefully constructed calm I had tried to maintain. "Lily," I said, my voice now urgent, setting down the colander with a thud, turning to face her fully, every nerve ending in my body now screaming with alarm. "What's wrong, baby?" The dam broke. Tears, hot and fast, streamed down her face, a deluge of raw, unbridled emotion that mirrored the storm now raging within me. I moved to her side, pulling out the stool next to her, placing a steady hand on her trembling back. "I can't do this anymore, Dad," she sobbed, her voice choked, laced with a desperation that clawed at my heart. "I can't pretend everything's normal. It's not." My jaw tightened, a muscle clenching rigidly. My mind, usually so adept at compartmentalizing the complexities of my work from the simple truths of my family life, felt like a circuit board overloaded with conflicting data, sparking and short-circuiting. "What do you mean, sweetie?" I urged, keeping my voice level, controlled, a desperate attempt to maintain an external calm even as an icy dread began to spread through my veins. "She's lying to you!" The words burst out in a rush, a torrent of accusations between racking sobs, about the trips, about everything. I leaned forward, my elbows on my knees, my gaze locked on hers, my heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic, irregular rhythm that deafened me to all other sounds. "Tell me what you know, Lily," I urged, my voice barely a whisper, yet firm, demanding the unvarnished truth, no matter how painful. Lily wiped her nose with her sleeve, her small voice dropping to a whisper, filled with a primal fear that pierced my soul with agonizing clarity. "Last month, when you fell asleep on the couch after your late shift, she brought someone here, a man. I heard them talking in the kitchen." Her eyes, wide and terrified, flickered to the closed kitchen door as if the shadow of that night still lingered. The room went quiet. The only sound was the relentless tick of the wall clock, a chilling metronome counting down to an impending, devastating revelation. My hands, which had been resting on the countertop, remained still, frozen, but my mind raced, analyzing, processing, desperately trying to integrate this new, horrifying data into my existing understanding of my life. "What did you hear?" I pressed, my voice flat, devoid of emotion, a desperate attempt to maintain control in the face of absolute chaos. Her voice, barely audible, was filled with a chilling, desperate plea. She said she wished you would just disappear, that everything would be easier if you were gone. And she said she'd make sure it happened soon. A cold, heavy dread settled in my chest, not entirely surprise, but more like a horrifying confirmation of a deep-seated suspicion I'd been pushing away for months, a vague, unsettling static in the background of my life that had now materialized into a terrifying, undeniable signal. "Anything else?" I pressed, my voice a strained murmur, pushing her for every detail, no matter how small or painful. "I've seen him sneak in 3 times now," Lily confessed, her eyes wide with fear, reflecting the terror she had endured in silence. "Always when you're asleep, he has a truck, dark blue, big, and Dad," she looked up at me, her eyes pleading, raw with vulnerability. "I'm scared. I think she wants you to go away forever." I reached over and squeezed her hand, trying to convey a strength I barely felt, a silent promise of protection. "You did the right thing telling me, Lily," I said, my voice firm despite the tremor in my soul. "You are incredibly brave, and you don't need to be scared anymore. I'm going to handle this. All of it, I promise." "What are you going to do?" she asked, her voice small, fragile, clinging to my every word. "I'm going to find out the truth," I said, my voice hardening with a resolve born of a furious protectiveness for my child and a chilling fear for my own life. Every single piece of it. I stood up and turned off the burner under the sauce, my movements automatic, while my mind, usually so orderly and rational, was a furious storm of calculations, building threat models, identifying vulnerabilities. But first I continued, forcing a casual tone back into my voice, a semblance of normalcy. "We're gonna eat dinner, and you're gonna tell me about your day. Normal stuff. Can you do that for me, kiddo?" Lily nodded, wiping her eyes again with the back of her hand, a small, fragile gesture of trust. "Yes, sir." "Good girl." I served our plates, my movements precise, mechanical. My mind, however, was already building threat models, analyzing vulnerabilities, drafting a multi-pronged investigation plan. Sarah had been different lately, distant, more critical of small things, more eager to leave for her business trips, her phone locked down with a new complex password. I'd attributed it to stress at work, to the pressures of her demanding career, to the general strain of modern life. But now I saw the pattern, the cold, calculating design of a much darker ambition. "Dad?" Lily's voice, hesitant, fragile, cut through my thoughts, pulling me back to the present. "Please don't let her hurt you." I met my daughter's eyes, a promise forming in my gaze, ironclad and absolute. "She won't get the chance, Lily. Not ever." I waited until 2 a.m. to begin my true work. Sarah wouldn't be back until tomorrow evening, giving me a crucial, uninterrupted window of time. My home office, usually a beacon of calm functionality, now transformed into my personal command center. My triple monitor setup glowed in the darkness, reflecting my grim resolve. My fingers, accustomed to flying across keyboards, crafting lines of code, now moved with a chilling precision, driven by a primal need for answers, for truth. First, the digital breadcrumbs. Our smart home system, a network of connected devices that I had meticulously installed for security and convenience, inadvertently became my greatest asset. The doorbell camera, motion sensors, and even the smart thermostat all kept detailed logs, a digital archive of every comings and goings, every temperature fluctuation, every detected presence. I began with the doorbell camera, scrolling backward through the timeline, my fingers flying across the trackpad with practiced efficiency, cross-referencing against Sarah's detailed travel itinerary. There, 3 weeks ago, a dark blue Ford F-150, modified with custom rims and blacked out windows, conspicuously parked across the street at 11:47 p.m. The timestamp showed Sarah was supposedly presenting at a major pharmaceutical conference in Atlanta. The truck lingered for hours, disappearing at 6:23 a.m. My heart hammered against my ribs, a cold, hard beat of chilling confirmation. My blood ran cold as I remembered Lily's terrified whisper, "He has a truck, dark blue." My fingers moved across the keyboard, pulling up our shared phone plan, location data. Our family plan provided detailed cell tower pings for every device. On the night the truck appeared, Sarah's phone had pinged cell towers consistently within a 5-mile radius of our Charlotte home. Not a single ping registered in Atlanta. I meticulously made a list. Dates, times, discrepancies. The pattern emerged with horrifying clarity. Sarah's phone stayed local during at least half of her claimed trips. This wasn't just a casual affair. This was a calculated deception, a systematic pattern of lies designed to create an alibi. Next, their bank account. I rarely checked it, as Sarah handled most of our joint finances, a division of labor I had implicitly trusted. But my access remained active. I scrolled through recent transactions, my eyes scanning for anomalies, for anything that didn't fit. There, a series of recurring transfers, a $1,200 transfer to someone named Axel Thorne, another one 2 weeks later, then another, and another. Each transfer was consistently around the same amount, always to the same recipient, always around the time of Sarah's business trips. It looked less like an expense and more like a regular payment, a chilling retainer for a dark service. I opened a new browser tab and searched Axel Thorne, Charlotte, North Carolina. The results made my blood run cold, draining the color from my face. Axel Thorne, 34, owner of Ironclad Gym, a mixed martial arts training facility known for its underground fight circuits. His public profile presented a rough but legitimate businessman. But beneath the surface, the dark web revealed a different story. 2 arrests for aggravated assault. 1 conviction for battery with a deadly weapon. A suspended sentence thanks to a high-priced lawyer. I printed the mugshot, a square jaw, heavily muscled, with eyes that seemed to hold a chilling, predatory coldness, devoid of any genuine warmth or empathy. This was the man coming to my house, the man my wife was having an affair with. This wasn't a lover, this was a weapon. I sat back in my chair, the dim glow of my monitors illuminating my grim face. My wife was having an affair with a violent criminal. She was systematically lying about her whereabouts. And according to Lily, she wanted me gone. But there had to be more. This felt bigger than just a sordid affair. My cybersecurity instincts screamed that this was a deeper, more elaborate scheme, a carefully constructed attack vector, with me as the unsuspecting target. Then I remembered something. Months ago, while searching for a misplaced tie, I'd noticed a second phone, a cheap burner, tucked away deep in Sarah's antique jewelry box, behind an ornate silver earring she never wore. She claimed it was old, broken, a relic from a previous job, but when I'd pressed the power button then, the screen had lit up. I had thought nothing of it then, dismissed it as a forgotten piece of tech. Now, I knew. I retrieved the phone, my hands strangely steady despite the tremor in my soul. The phone was locked, but I knew Sarah's patterns, her predictable reliance on significant dates. I tried her usual go-to password combinations. Our anniversary, my birthday, Lily's birthday, all incorrect. Then I remembered her younger brother, Danny, who had died tragically in a motorcycle accident 5 years ago. He was her only sibling, a loss that had deeply affected her. I entered Danny's birthday. 824. The phone unlocked. My hands went still, frozen in midair, As I stared at the screen, the harsh blue light reflecting in my eyes. Text messages with Axel, going back 5 months, a digital diary of their insidious plot. I scrolled to the very top and started reading, my breath catching in my throat with each horrifying revelation. Axel, when are you going to tell him? I'm tired of playing house. Sarah. Soon, darling. I need more time to set things up. The financial planning is critical. Axel. How much longer? I'm tired of sneaking around. Either you leave him or I'm done. This isn't what we agreed to. Sarah. Patience, my love. You know it's not that simple. There's too much money involved and I want it all. Our future depends on this. My jaw clenched so hard I thought my teeth would crack. I continued reading, the conversation shifting, becoming more ominous, more cryptic, a chilling blueprint of their intentions. Sarah, the policy is active now. Signed all the papers last week. Just need to be patient for the waiting period to end. It's almost over. Axel, how patient, Sarah? I want to start our life together, not just yours. I'm not waiting forever. Sarah, very soon. Trust me. The new beneficiary forms are filed. My hands were shaking violently now, my body trembling with the cold fury that threatened to consume me. I scrolled further, my eyes fixated on the screen, dreading what I might find, yet unable to stop. Then, the voice messages. I clicked play, holding the phone to my ear. Sarah's voice, cold and detached, filled the quiet room, a grotesque parody of the woman I thought I knew. Chloe, it's me. I think we're ready to move forward. The life insurance policy James signed last month is active now, fully mature. It's $1 million, double for accidental death, enough for us to finally be free. Another voice, female, responded, chillingly familiar. Are you sure about this, Sarah? There's no going back once you start. This is permanent. It was Chloe Bellamy, Sarah's best friend since college, her maid of honor at our wedding, a woman I had trusted implicitly, a frequent guest in our home. I'm sure, Sarah replied, her voice chillingly resolute, devoid of any doubt or remorse. Axel knows exactly what to do. We just need the right opportunity. A quiet night, something he can't fight back from. I stopped the playback, the silence that followed more deafening than any scream. Chloe Bellamy. My mind raced, reconstructing past conversations, gestures, smiles, all of it tainted by this horrifying revelation. I scrolled further and found a saved draft message, never sent, but chillingly clear, a final, damning piece of evidence. It's time. Once he drinks it, I'll say it was an accident. The policy's active, I'll make the call. I stared at the message for a long time, the words burning themselves into my mind, scorching my very soul. My wife wasn't just having an affair. She was planning to murder me for $1 million life insurance policy, with her violent lover and her best friend as willing accomplices. The casual cruelty of it, the cold calculation, the utter lack of humanity was a betrayal far deeper than anything I could have imagined. My cybersecurity training had prepared me for digital threats, for malicious code, for network intrusions. It had never, in my wildest nightmares, prepared me for the complete breakdown of human trust, for the ultimate premeditated betrayal by the person who shared my bed, my home, who was the mother of my child. Carefully, meticulously, with the same surgical precision I applied to extracting malicious code from compromised servers, I navigated to the phone settings and found the backup options. I connected it to my laptop and copied everything. Text, call logs, photos, voice messages, every piece of damning evidence, duplicated, secured, time-stamped. When the transfer finished, I put the phone back exactly where I'd found it, nestled behind the antique earring, leaving no trace, no indication that its dark secrets had been exposed. Back in my office, with the weight of the world pressing down on me, I opened my contact list and scrolled to a name I hadn't called in 2 years, Marcus Thorne. My old squad mate from Afghanistan. We'd served together in military intelligence, operating in the shadows, unearthing secrets that could shift geopolitical landscapes, identifying enemy combatants, preventing acts of terror. Now, he ran a high-end private security and consulting firm in Asheville, specializing in executive protection, covert investigations, and tactical solutions. The phone rang 3 times before a gruff, sleep-laden voice answered. Thorne, Marcus grunted, his voice raw with sleep. But even through the phone, I could sense the underlying alertness, the readiness for danger. This better be good, James. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, and you sound like you've seen a ghost. Worse than a ghost, Marcus, I said, my voice tight, devoid of any lingering emotion, just a cold, hard resolve. I need backup, serious backup. I'm being hunted. In my own home. A pause. Then, Marcus's voice, sharp, entirely alert now. What kind of backup? What exactly are we dealing with, James? Give me the executive summary. No code words. The kind that keeps me alive and protects my daughter, I replied, looking at the evidence spread across my desk. The phone records, the bank statements, the chilling messages, the mugshot of Axel Thorne. My wife wants me dead, and she's got help, professional help. Another beat of silence, longer this time, as Marcus processed the gravity of my words. He knew I wasn't prone to hyperbole, not after what we'd seen. How fast can you get to Charlotte? I asked, cutting to the chase. I'm already on my way, brother, Marcus said, his voice now entirely professional, devoid of any lingering sleepiness. Give me 6 hours. I'll be there. Stay safe, James. Don't engage. Don't let them know you know. I spent the remaining hours before dawn organizing my evidence with a frantic precision. I created encrypted folders on my laptop. Financial records. Sarah, Axel, location data, Sarah Vance, communications, burner phone, background checks, Axel Thorne. Each file was meticulously labeled, dated, and cross-referenced. If something happened to me, the evidence would tell the full, horrifying story, ensuring justice for Lily and for myself. I knew the stakes were too high to leave anything to chance, to rely on anything less than an unassailable digital fortress of truth. By the time Lily woke up for school, I had painstakingly transformed myself back into the calm, controlled, utterly unremarkable father she knew. I made her favorite blueberry pancakes, the aroma a comforting shield against the dark truth lurking beneath. I checked her homework, helped her find her favorite hair tie, and sent her off to school with a hug that lasted a few seconds longer than usual, a silent, desperate promise of protection. I felt a surge of cold fury, thinking about how Sarah's monstrous plan would have destroyed Lily's world, leaving her an orphan, scarred by an unimaginable betrayal at the hands of her own mother. That thought solidified my resolve, hardened my heart. This wasn't just about my survival. It was about protecting Lily, ensuring her future was built on truth, on love, not shattered by deceit and the insidious poison of her mother's betrayal. At precisely 10 a.m., a crisp, authoritative knock echoed through the house. A prearranged signal. Marcus Tiernan looked exactly like what he was, a former Special Forces operator who traded his uniform for civilian clothes but kept every ounce of his warrior's edge. Tall, lean, with steely gray threading through his close-cropped beard and eyes that missed nothing, eyes that immediately began a silent, professional assessment of the room. You look like hell, James, Marcus said, stepping inside, his gaze sweeping the living room, assessing every angle, every potential threat, every possible vantage point. Feel worse, believe me, I replied, my voice raspy. I gestured toward the kitchen table, which I had cleared for our discussion. Coffee? I've got a whole pot brewing, strong enough to wake the dead. We sat at the table, and I laid out everything. The hidden phone, the meticulously cataloged text messages, the damning financial transfers, the specifics of the life insurance policy, Axel Thorne's chilling criminal background. Marcus listened without interruption, his expression growing harder with each revelation, his jaw tightening, his eyes narrowing with a grim, professional understanding. His years in clandestine operations meant he had seen the darkest sides of human nature, had witnessed unspeakable acts of cruelty and betrayal. Yet the casual domestic nature of this premeditated plot, the calculated indifference to human life, clearly disturbed him. Show me the voice messages again, Marcus said, his voice low, measured, the sound of a man preparing for battle. I played them again, Sarah's voice, discussing my death with the same detached practicality one might use to plan a dinner party. Chloe's encouragement, her chilling complicity. Axel's impatient demands, eager for his cut, for his new life. The cold calculation of it all was sickening, a grotesque symphony of greed and malice. How long until she gets back? Marcus asked. his gaze fixed on mine, searching for any sign of weakness. 6 hours, roughly, I replied, checking my watch. And Lily's at school until 3. We have a window. We need law enforcement involved, James, Marcus stated, his gaze fixed on mine, his voice leaving no room for argument. This is beyond what we can handle alone, however capable we are. This is premeditated murder. They need to be caught, processed, and held accountable. I know, I admit it, my voice heavy with the weight of that truth. I've already thought about it. I have a contact, Detective Mark Ellison. He's with the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department, Homicide Division. We worked together on a few tricky cybercrime cases a few years back. He trusts my judgment, and he's good, very good. Marcus nodded, a flicker of approval in his eyes. Good. A known quantity is always better than a cold call. While you contact him, I'll go over the house. We need to secure it, ensure there are no other surprises, no other hidden cameras or listening devices they might have planted. I'll also set up some discrete surveillance points, internal and external. If they're this bold, they might have contingencies, fallback plans, or even a hidden escape route. While Marcus moved through the house with the silent, ghost-like efficiency of a seasoned operator, his movements precise, his eyes missing nothing, I contacted Detective Ellison. My call was brief, professional, but laced with an urgency he immediately recognized. Mark, it's James Hayes. I've got something. Classified, urgent, and it involves a serious threat to my life. I need to meet off the record as soon as humanly possible. Ellison, a seasoned veteran with a weary but sharp mind, a man who had seen too much but was never jaded enough to stop caring, agreed to meet me at a discreet, out-of-the-way diner on the outskirts of town in an hour. He knew I wouldn't call him for anything less than critical, that my word was as good as gold. At the diner, over lukewarm, bitter coffee, I laid out my carefully organized evidence. I presented the meticulously documented timeline of Sarah's trips and corresponding cell phone pings that contradicted her every alibi. I showed him the bank statements with the recurring, suspicious transfers to Axel Thorne. I presented the detailed background check on Axel Thorne, highlighting his violent past and his connections to the underground fight scene. Then, with a chilling calm, I produced the burner phone and played the voice messages, Sarah's voice discussing my death, the specifics of the life insurance policy, Chloe's chilling complicity. I watched Ellison's face, seeing the subtle shift in his expression, the gradual hardening of his features. Detective Ellison listened in silence, his expression unreadable, his gaze fixed on the screen of my tablet, absorbing every damning detail. As the final chilling words of Sarah's draft message, "It's time. Once he drinks it, I'll say it was an accident." The policy's active. 1. Hung in the air, a cold, heavy silence filled the booth. He finally looked up, his eyes cold steel, radiating a quiet, dangerous fury. "Mr. Hayes," he said, his voice quiet, measured, but imbued with an undeniable gravitas. "This is substantial, incredibly disturbing, and quite frankly, one of the most calculated attempts at murder I've seen in my career, especially by a spouse." "I know," I replied, my voice steady, betraying none of the turmoil inside. "I want them caught, all of them, and I want Lily protected. She's seen too much already. She's terrified." "What's your plan?" Ellison asked, leaning forward, his professional mask now fully in place, his mind already shifting into tactical mode. "They're not just going to walk into a trap if they suspect anything. Sarah is coming back this evening," I explained, my voice low. "She'll expect everything to be normal. I'll maintain that illusion. Axel's presence at the house is key. Chloe's too. If we can get her there, we need to catch them in the act, or at least with undeniable intent. I'm willing to be the bait under your protection. It's the only way to get them to reveal their full hand." Ellison considered this for a long moment, a furrow appearing between his brows. "That's a high-risk strategy, James, putting yourself in direct harm's way, even with our presence. But given the strength of this evidence and the calculated nature of their plot, it might be the only way to get them cold, with no room for doubt or denial. If they know you suspect anything, they'll go silent, disappear, and we'll lose them. And if they've already tried this before, or have other victims, we can't let that happen." He looked at me, a flicker of professional respect in his eyes. All right, here's what we'll do. We're going to treat this like a full-blown sting operation. Every detail accounted for. Over the next few hours, working in close collaboration with Marcus, we meticulously planned the operation with Detective Ellison and his elite team from Homicide. Marcus, with his unparalleled tactical expertise, helped the police map out every inch of my house. Entry points, surveillance positions, discreet exfiltration routes. He identified blind spots in our home security that Sarah and Axel might exploit, areas where cameras might not reach, or where sound could be muffled. We installed hidden cameras that fed directly to Ellison's mobile command unit, covertly placed in strategic locations throughout the living room, kitchen, and hallway, recording every movement, every word. Every window and door was monitored, every potential escape route covered. The entire house became a meticulously controlled stage for a grim drama, with my life hanging in the balance. The key, we agreed, was the drinks part of Sarah's implied plan. I had a subtle but clear memory of Sarah occasionally preparing a special herbal tea for me after particularly long, stressful work days, claiming it helped with my sleep and stress. Now, I knew it was likely the chosen delivery mechanism for whatever poison they intended to use. Ellison's team, under Marcus's watchful eye and guidance, carefully replaced the tea leaves in the tin with an innocuous, non-toxic herbal blend. They also prepared a safe, non-toxic antidote for me to take publicly, a small, tasteless capsule I could swallow quickly, creating the illusion of a sudden, severe illness, something that would trigger the 911 call from Sarah, just as her draft message implied. As the sun began its slow, agonizing descent below the horizon, casting long, anxious shadows across our living room, the trap was set. Lily, thankfully, was safely with Marcus's trusted colleague, a former military combat medic at a secure, undisclosed location on the outskirts of the city. She had been told only that she was on a special overnight adventure with a friend due to an unexpected work emergency for me. Her safety, her absolute removal from this horrifying reality, was paramount. Her well-being was the unwavering compass that guided my every terrifying step. Then, precisely at 5:47 p.m., Sarah's car pulled into the driveway. I met her at the door, forcing a tired, welcoming smile onto my face, every nerve ending in my body screaming with an agonizing, almost unbearable tension. "Rough day, honey?" I asked, my voice calm, the perfect picture of an exhausted, unsuspecting husband. "The usual grind," Sarah replied, a practiced weariness in her voice, but her eyes held a spark of something else, something I now recognized as chilling anticipation, a predatory gleam I had never noticed before. She carried a designer handbag, its weight perhaps lightened by the absence of the burner phone, which was now in police custody, its contents already damning her beyond reprieve. I picked up some things for dinner, thought we could have a quiet night in. She moved into the kitchen, humming softly, a chillingly domestic sound, as she began to unpack groceries. My gaze drifted, almost imperceptibly, to the tea box on the counter. The one I knew contained the innocuous herbal blend, a silent testament to the deception about to unfold. The evening progressed with an eerie, unsettling normalcy. We made polite small talk, discussing Lily's day, her school projects, Sarah's fabricated conference details. Each mundane word, each forced smile, each casual gesture felt like a scene in a meticulously choreographed play, with my life and my daughter's future hanging in the balance. I could almost feel the phantom presence of Ellison's team, ghost-like shadows positioned around the house, their eyes fixed on the monitors, listening to every breath, every rustle of clothing, waiting for the designated signal. Around 9 p.m., after we finished dinner, a meal I barely tasted, Sarah moved to the kitchen, her movements deliberate, purposeful. "You look absolutely exhausted, James," she said, her voice laced with a feigned concern that was now a grotesque mockery of true affection. "Let me make you that special herbal tea, the one for stress. It always helps you relax." "That sounds wonderful, Sarah," I said, my voice betraying no hint of the icy dread coiling in my stomach, the grim knowledge of her true intent. "Thank you. You always know just what I need." I watched her, every muscle in my body tense, my senses heightened to an almost unbearable degree. She prepared the tea, her movements precise, almost ritualistic, a chillingly practiced choreography. She brought the steaming mug to me, her hand brushing mine as she placed it on the coffee table. Her fingers lingered for a moment, a subtle, almost imperceptible caress that now felt like the brush of a viper. I knew what she was thinking, what she believed she was doing. The final touch, the poison, the beginning of my end. But it wasn't. It was the beginning of hers. I took a long, slow sip of the tea. It tasted exactly as it should. Earthy, faintly sweet, soothing, nothing insidious. I forced myself to relax, to let my shoulders slump, to mimic the onset of profound fatigue. I took another sip, then another, emptying the mug. After a few minutes, I feigned a sudden dizziness, my hand going to my head, my eyes fluttering. Whoa, I mumbled, my voice slurring slightly. Head rush, must be that long flight today. Just so tired. Sarah's eyes narrowed, a flicker of triumph, quickly masked by a veil of false worry, dancing within their depths. Are you all right, dear? She asked, her voice laced with feigned concern. She moved closer, her hand hovering, ready to assist me, to ensure my demise. Just so dizzy. I managed, my voice fading, leaning back heavily against the couch cushions, closing my eyes, feigning a slow, spiraling descent into unconsciousness. I could hear Marcus's voice in my earpiece, a tiny, almost imperceptible buzz against my ear. He's here. Axel just entered the house through the back door. We're in position, waiting on your signal, James. The moment I felt the real touch of another person, a heavy hand on my shoulder, radiating a crude, violent energy, I knew it was Axel. His presence filled the room, a palpable threat. Is he out? Axel's voice was rough, impatient, a dangerous edge to his words. Almost darling, Sarah whispered, her voice a low, triumphant hiss, barely contained excitement. Just a few more minutes. He's fading fast, barely breathing. This was it, the moment of truth. My eyes still closed, I felt Sarah's hand on my pulse point, confirming my feigned rapid decline, the slowing of my breath. It's time, Sarah said, her voice chillingly clear, the words echoing in my ears, sealing her fate. Call 911. Say it was an accident. He must have had a massive heart attack from the stress. Make it sound convincing. I heard the frantic clicking of her phone, the muffled sounds of her speaking to the emergency operator, her voice a masterclass in feigned grief and shock. My husband, he just collapsed. I think it's his heart. He just drank some tea and suddenly, oh God, he's barely breathing. Please, hurry. That was the trigger, the prearranged, unequivocal signal. Suddenly, the front door burst open with a deafening crash. Freeze! Police! Hands! In the air! Ellison's voice boomed, amplified, cutting through the manufactured silence like a thunderclap. Sarah shrieked, a genuine, piercing sound of terror, dropping her phone. Axel, despite his imposing size, reacted with surprising speed, his hand darting instinctively toward what looked like a concealed weapon in his waistband. But Marcus, a blur of practiced precision and lightning-fast reflexes, was already on him. A swift, brutal takedown. Axel cried out as he hit the floor with a sickening thud, his arm twisted behind his back, a cuff snapping into place with a definitive click. Sarah stood frozen, her face contorted in a mask of horror and disbelief, her fake grief evaporating like smoke in a sudden harsh wind. Detective Ellison, his face grim, was already securing her, his movements efficient and cold. Sarah Vance, he stated, his voice devoid of emotion. You're under arrest for attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and insurance fraud. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. My eyes snapped open. I pushed myself up, my feigned weakness vanishing instantly, replaced by a steely, resolute strength. Sarah stared at me, her eyes wide with shock, then dawning realization, and finally, a cold, venomous hatred that twisted her features into an ugly snarl. You, she hissed, the word a poisonous curse, dripping with pure malice. You set me up, you bastard. I should have finished it myself. You tried to murder me, Sarah, I replied, my voice calm, steady, filled with an unwavering resolve that surprised even myself. and you endangered our daughter's future, destroyed her sense of safety. You left me no choice. You chose this path. The house swarmed with uniformed officers, their movements efficient, methodical. Evidence was secured, statements taken. The nightmare, the insidious threat that had shadowed my life for months, was finally, irrevocably ending. The aftermath was a brutal, arduous process, a long, winding road to justice and healing. Sarah and Axel were formally charged with multiple felonies. The evidence from the burner phone, combined with the live recordings from the hidden cameras capturing their chilling conversations, Sarah's staged 911 call, and Chloe Bellamy's subsequent testimony, was undeniably damning. Chloe, once Sarah's closest confidant, quickly turned state's witness in exchange for a significantly lighter sentence, detailing the entire malicious plot, leaving Sarah and Axel with no escape, no plausible deniability. The legal proceedings were long and emotionally draining. Lily, my brave, resilient Lily, underwent extensive therapy, slowly processing the profound betrayal by her own mother, the woman who was supposed to be her sanctuary, her protector. I was there for every session, every tear, every quiet moment of doubt and fear, every small incremental step towards healing. It was an agonizing journey, but one we undertook together, solidifying a bond that no amount of deceit or malice could ever break. Sarah and Axel were ultimately convicted of attempted murder and conspiracy to commit murder. Sarah received a lengthy prison sentence, her ambition and greed ultimately consuming her, leading her down a dark path from which there was no return. Axel, with his prior violent record, received an even harsher one, a testament to the severity of his crimes. Chloe, true to her deal, received a significantly reduced sentence. Her betrayal of Sarah, a desperate act of self-preservation, a survival instinct that trumped friendship. My life, once a meticulously ordered blueprint, had been shattered and then painstakingly rebuilt. The house, once a silent witness to deceit and the shadow of death, now felt cleansed, lighter, filled with a fragile but growing sense of peace. I kept my job as a cybersecurity architect, finding a renewed sense of purpose in protecting not just digital systems, but people from malicious intent, from the hidden dangers that lurk beneath the surface of seemingly normal lives. I started volunteering at a local nonprofit that helped victims of domestic financial abuse, using my expertise to help others identify red flags, secure their assets, and rebuild their lives after insidious betrayals. Lily blossomed. Slowly, cautiously, she found her voice again, her innate confidence, her bright, infectious laughter returning, brighter and more genuine than before. We took long road trips, explored national parks, rediscovered simple joys in the quiet moments of companionship. Our bond, forged in the crucible of unimaginable trauma and betrayal, became unbreakable, a testament to the enduring power of love and truth. I became both her father and her fiercest, most unwavering protector, determined to ensure her world was built on truth, on genuine love, and on the security of knowing she was truly safe. My relationship with Sarah, of course, was irrevocably severed. There was no room for reconciliation, no possibility of forgiveness. The woman I had loved, the mother of my child, had tried to extinguish my life with chilling indifference, with cold, calculated cruelty. The betrayal was too deep, the intent too heinous, too monstrous to ever bridge that chasm. Sometimes, in the quiet solitude of the night, as the city lights twinkled in the distance, I reflect on the profound lessons learned. I, James, once a man who trusted implicitly, especially in the sanctity of my home and the people I loved, learned that the most dangerous threats often come from the places we least expect. My military intelligence training had taught me to identify external threats, to analyze complex data for hostile patterns, to anticipate attacks from known adversaries. But this horrifying experience taught me that the deepest deceptions can lie hidden within the most intimate connections, cloaked in familiarity and trust, waiting for the opportune moment to strike. The chilling truth is that trust, while essential for human connection, must always be tempered with vigilance. Not paranoia, but a healthy skepticism, an acute awareness that even the most seemingly perfect facades can hide sinister intentions. My daughter's innocent fear, her desperate whispered plea, became the alarm that saved my life. Her courage to speak the truth, even when terrified beyond measure, was the first crucial crack in Sarah's meticulously constructed lie, the first ray of light exposing the darkness. I learned that true strength isn't about physical prowess or intellectual superiority, but about the courage to face an ugly truth, to protect the vulnerable, and to fight for what is right, even when it means dismantling your own life to do so. The most valuable assets in life aren't financial or material. They are integrity, authenticity, and the unwavering, unconditional love of those who truly cherish you. And sometimes, the most profound acts of self-preservation are also the most loving acts for those you protect. I rebuilt my life not on the ruins of hatred or revenge, but on a solid foundation of unshakable truth, an enduring love for my daughter, and a profound, newfound appreciation for the fragile, precious gift of life itself. My fortress was no longer just digital. It was built from the strength of my convictions and the enduring love for my child. This is my story. It began with a desperate whisper of fear from my daughter, escalated into a terrifying 911 call, and culminated in the shattering realization of a cold, calculating murder plot. But it ended with the reclamation of my life, the forging of an unbreakable bond with my child, and the enduring message that vigilance, truth, and love, however painfully discovered, are the ultimate fortresses against the deepest, most insidious darkness.